Good morning. This is Mike Sneed coming to you again. Repeat. Still getting used to my YouTube channel, Save, Invest, Repeat. I'm coming to you this morning. I'm actually waiting. I got an eye appointment. I got to get some new glasses. So I decided to go through and give you a kind of an update of what I have going on this week with the houses and other things that's happened. Well, this week was pretty good. I went to an investment, one of my investment. Okay, sorry about that. Internet is kind of funny where I'm at in this doctor's office. Well, anyway, I'm coming to you today. This week I went to an investment meeting. We do once a month where a lot of investors that's buying property in Rocky Mount, we get together and we have people come talk to us about the different opportunities that's going on. And I found out something very something that's I don't know how to take it. They have these things now what they call opportunity zones, and opportunity zones are places that they just started it this year. Opportunity zone is places where you can invest your money tax free. So what that means is, if you take your money and put it into an opportunity zone, so you could take your money out your 401k. I can take my capital gains out of a house that I have flipped earlier in the year. I can take capital gains out of a business I sold. Anywhere I got money that I don't want to pay taxes on, I can take it and invest it into what they call opportunity zones. And opportunity zones, what the government has as labeled as opportunity zones, are areas of low income, and specifically African American communities. So what they've done it made me feel kind of funny because all it was the old redlining district. So if you know anything about the history in the United States, they used to have red line districts, and the red line they would draw a border around a specific city or town, and within that border they would just specify certain areas of town where only you could, as an African American, that the realtors or you would be able to buy property in. And they became redlining. And what that done, that subjugated African Americans to only be able to live in certain areas of that city or town. And what happens now, the government is coming in and say, okay, areas that are low income, they have drawn a border around those areas, which is nothing but the old red line district borders. And they're saying you can take your money, put it in there, and if you put your money in there, you don't have to pay any taxes. So what happens now, the houses that I've bought in Rocky Mount are within what they call the opportunity zone. So I don't have to pay any taxes now on any money that I put into those houses. Any other houses that I buy within that opportunity zone, I don't have to pay any taxes for it. So now it has really changed the game, because now I was thinking maybe just fixing these houses up and taking my time getting them done. Now I'm thinking I need to go ahead now and buy as many as possible and maybe flip a couple of them, because I can flip them and don't have to pay any taxes at all on the capital gains on them. Long as I have them within only thing they're saying, you have to be within that area for like 10 years. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a house. It could be anything other than what they call a sin business. And a sin business is something they consider like a strip joint, a casino, a liquor store, something like that. As long as you stay clear of those things, I can take my money and go create another business within the opportunity zone. You don't have to pay any taxes on it. So what's happened now is the blue light special going on in the African American community, and we know nothing about it. They just passing the laws now. A matter of fact, it's so new they haven't even wrote out the actual laws that's doing it. They're telling us. The lady from the government came and told us, say, hey, you can do it. You're not going to pay any taxes. You need to go ahead and do it now, because they're going to close the door on it at the end of next year. So December 31st, 2019, if you haven't started your projects, you haven't started your funds, or you haven't purchased property in that, they say they're going to close the door on it. And because this is kind of like the pilot program. So pilot program normally means that the people with the money goes in and gets all the good stuff, and then they write the laws and stuff afterwards, after the people with the money that made their money. So the people who comes later, they have to, they don't get as good of a deal. Kind of like I was telling somebody, kind of like when now you see everybody. And what happens now, they're pulling the sweet potatoes up. At the beginning, you see the farmer goes out, and as soon as they get ready to harvest the sweet potatoes, they go in and pick all the good sweet potatoes and stuff out. And then the rest of them they leave in the field for anybody and the deer, anybody to eat. So that's what's happening right now. This opportunity zone, they came out and told us, hey, go get as much as you want. You don't have to pay any taxes on it. You put your money here, you're safe. And the other thing too, they don't have no cap. It used to be if they were doing revitalization, they would put a cap on how much money you could make if you were to sell it. So if I bought a house and I in a revitalization zone and I flipped it, they say I have to hold the house for a certain amount of time, or if I flipped it within that time, within that penalty time, I couldn't make but so much of a percentage off of the flip. So that way they eliminated people just coming in and really gentrifying the area. But now with this opportunity zone, you don't have no cap on it. So you can make as much money as you want, and they don't have no limits. You know, in the old days with the old revitalization stuff, they made you have to have so much affordable housing. So if I came in and bought an apartment complex, they would say so many of their houses have to be affordable housing. People there, I couldn't just displace everybody. Well, now with the new opportunity zone, you don't have any restrictions. You can do whatever you want. You can and they say all you have to do is show that you made substantial improvement. And they say substantial improvement is $1. So if I go buy a property for $5,000, if I go in and make the property worth $5,001, then that they say, hey, that's substantial improvement, and I don't and I qualify not to have to pay any taxes on it. So now what you're gonna see people doing, they're gonna start pulling money out of their 401ks, their retirements, their RAs. You're gonna see people taking money they have flipped in other areas, and they're gonna dump it into these African American communities. And what they're doing now too, they're going to the city and telling the city, hey, you gotta force these people who got these abandoned houses or these houses that nobody's living in, they're below on taxes. They're telling the city they got to go now and force these people to get out these houses and sell them, because they only got a short window in which they can make their money. So now you're going to start seeing in the African American community, you're going to see a lot of houses now are starting to have to go on sale, like you see in Detroit, where they're going in and they forcing the government having this, the city have what they call a land bank, where they're pulling all this property now and they selling it, and you're seeing everybody running there, where the same thing's going to be happening in Rocky Mount and all other cities. What you have to do, you have to go and find out the opportunity zone that's listed in across the country. The governors of each state, they go in and they create the opportunity zone. And like I said, all it is the old red line of districts, and they're running us out. And like I say, it's a catch-22, because what's going to happen, it's going to really decimate the wealth, the little bit of wealth that we have in the African American community, because because what's going to happen, all that property that you used to have, you're not going to have it anymore. And once they renovate that property, you're not going to have nowhere to go and live, because you won't be able to afford to stay there anymore. So I just wanted to come through, let y'all know how that went with the investors meeting. Something you want to look into. If you can take advantage of it, do, but be aware of it, that it's coming. It's not coming. It's here. And like I said, what they were telling the city this past Wednesday at my investors meeting, they were telling the city, you got to get these people out of these houses. And like I asked in the city, I said, hey, in the rural area, there's just as much poverty and low income in the rural area with these people with these old farms that have been in their houses, that have been in their family for years, and the kids can't afford to keep the farms up. But what they do there, they create programs where they say, okay, if you got an old farm and you can't afford to pay the taxes on it, and you can't afford to keep it up, You could go out there and put bumblebees on the farm, and they'll say, okay, you got a bee farm, and they'll defer your taxes and all that, where you don't have to pay it until you get ready to sell the land. So they have programs to keep them and keep their property and wealth in within their family. But with the African American community, they come in and they ripping it out of our hands. So beware of that. If your family got property and land that is not taken care of and stuff, you need to go there and get it taken care of, because, like I said, it's coming and they're going to rip it out. Far as the house, because of the hurricane and the weather and everything just so wet, we haven't been out there really to do any work this week. I was planning on getting out there this weekend, but because of the weather, I gotta go do some things at my parents' house, and I also have to go out here and do some things at my house to clean up from the storm. So it'll be next week I'll be back at my house. So I just want to come and make you aware of the opportunity zones, and you better be careful, because they coming for our property and our land, and they ripping it out of our hands. And like they said, it was a study that showed within 10 years, the net worth for African Americans is going to be zero. And that plan, I think, is what drove those figures, because that plan is a 10-year plan. So if you buy anything, you in the opportunity zone, which is really just the African American community, you have to actually invest in there for 10 years and not have to pay any taxes on it. And when they finish pulling all our property, you're not going to have any money. You're not going to have any money or any wealth, and it's going to be a sad time. So I just want to come make you aware of that. And like I said, go over to my YouTube channel, Save, Invest, Repeat, and like that channel. I got some good stuff coming up this weekend over there. And if you got any questions, concerns, just hit me up, and I'll try to answer them as best as possible. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good weekend.